The year is 1845 in London, England, and this specific time and place marks the beginning of a new age, the introduction of a product that went on to change the world. It was here, at this site, where the first rape culture factory was opened for business. As was typical of the age, factories popped up all around the country, providing security of jobs, operating with new technology, and revolutionizing the mass production of items. And among these establishments was the first ever rape culture factory. The combination of the early technology and the overworked hands of the 19th century workers resulted in the quick and efficiently produced dissemination of the commodity we know to be rape culture. Only a few years after the first rape culture factory opened, we started to see this rise in popularity with the product, and it began to infiltrate various environments like the workplace, the family home, art, and literature. By the 1850s, other rape culture factories began to open in surrounding cities near London, but it only took a couple years for these operations to then spread to other countries. As we know today, rape culture is one of the most popular and intricately embedded products of our age that has influences in almost every facet of our society. It's hard to find a place without it, and it all started in 1845, at the height of the Industrial Revolution, in the very first rape culture factory in London, England. Now, I hope you're still watching and are listening very carefully, because what I just told you isn't true. Rape culture wasn't invented in a London factory in the 19th century by overworked workers during the Industrial Revolution. Again, I made that up, just to be clear. But to a certain extent, I think that's exactly the answer you want to hear when one asks, where does rape culture come from? I mean, it certainly is easier to grasp the origins of something when there's a certain time period associated with it, and a date, a specific city, and location, all a part of that answer. But, unfortunately, the actual history behind rape culture is not that simple. The origins are more obscure, not addressed often, and points us to a surprising reality about rape culture itself. So, that's what we will be looking into in this video. Where did rape culture come from? And when did it start? Who invented it? Essentially, what is the hidden history behind rape culture? Hey you, it's me, Karen, and welcome to my channel for one. Thanks for clicking on this video. That is super amazing and awesome and cool of you. And number two, if you didn't already know, this video is actually a part of a YouTube series that I will be continually posting on this channel, where I essentially define what rape culture is for you, which is pretty interesting stuff. And I already have one video out, so if you haven't already seen that one yet, I would totally recommend you watch that one first before you continue with this one. But if you've already seen the first one, I'm sorry to get in your way right now. Let's continue with this video. The origins of rape culture isn't going to reveal itself. Okay, let's continue. So what do we already know about rape culture's origins? Well, based on what I revealed in my last video, the actual term rape culture was first coined in the early 1970s by feminist activists and academics. But obviously, this rape culture thing had already lived a much longer existence prior to getting its name in the 20th century. Rape culture is something that we have been able to trace back all the way to the 1960s and 50s. 40s and 30s, and even further back, like the 1860s. And believe it or not, hundreds of years before that point. So we know for certain that it has essentially had a long lifespan, apparent in times before we learned how to even harness electricity or establish a functioning sewage sanitation system. We know rape culture didn't just appear overnight. With a singular event or specific moment in time that marked its beginning. It's more likely that rape culture is something that sort of emerged over the years, organically and gradually as human societies first began developing their hierarchical structures and way of living. And how do we know that? Well, rape culture itself is the mechanism that allows the problem of rape to persist in our societies. In other words, there's no rape problem without rape culture. And well, we know that rape existed in early ancient civilizations due to the several mentionings of it. We see it, for example, in some of the earliest written legal codes of many developing civilizations. And my guess is that if there were multiple references to rape in these ancient legal documents, it was probably occurring then, like it is still now, at a rate that was noticeable and alarming enough to address. And it doesn't stop there. There are plenty of other acknowledgments of rape and sexual violence in our history. So yeah, rape is definitely an ancient old problem, one that we've been dealing with for centuries. And so that means the producer of this is an ancient old problem as well. But what does that actually mean though? That rape culture, which has no identifiable start date, by the way, has seemingly surfaced during the developmental stages of our ancient civilizations. So wouldn't that suggest that rape culture just naturally comes from us? As a society, as a people group? Like, there's no inventor or creator per se. It just is a part of us. It's just a natural part of our human experience. Is that where rape culture comes from? Short answer, no. Long answer, I'll explain it right now. Just because rape culture has been a fixed and developing aspect of our early civilizations doesn't mean that rape culture and rape culture myths are somehow innate in us, that we naturally think, behave, or set up our societies in such a way that must involve a rape culture. Despite maybe what some people believe, according to academics and researchers, living in a rape culture-infested society isn't natural, and most certainly isn't inevitable. And even rape and sexual assault, believe it or not, are also not inevitable outcomes for just existing in a society. It doesn't have to happen, at least in these high numbers that we are able to document. And I know this might sound like a bold claim. I mean, especially considering how common sexual violence is and how long it's been happening in our history for. But this idea that rape, sexual assault, and even rape culture is somehow natural is not only dangerous, it's untrue, and most certainly a foundational rape culture myth. Don't tell me you're still skeptical. Bro, are you serious? Okay, let me direct you to the work of Peggy Reeves-Sande. She is an author, researcher, and anthropologist who in 1981 published the article, The Socio-Cultural Context of Rape, a cross-cultural study. Okay with that tongue twister. But in this article, she basically introduced some really extraordinary discoveries that pretty much shifted the way people perceived rape and sexual assault. During the study, Sande analyzed 154 global societies, spanning all the way from 1750 BC to the late 1960s, and was able to classify them into two distinct categories. The first one, rape-prone, and the second, rape-free. Rape-prone societies were defined based on the criteria that rape was more frequent, tolerated, or even ritually expressed. And in the rape-free societies, rape was a rare or virtually non-existent occurrence. And if it happened, it was heavily scrutinized and punished. There was also a third category that made up 33% of the societies that couldn't be neatly categorized based on the criteria that was outlined. So there is also that. So what was my girl Dr. Peggy's main takeaway? Well, cultural influences like traditions, norms, power structures, gender roles, these can all influence the frequency of rape, whether it happens routinely, occurring often, or not, whether it's suppressed in numbers and occurring very infrequently. In other words, Dr. Sande was able to reveal that rape is not inevitable, nor a natural outcome. It's not something that just happens, like thunderstorms or bad haircuts. It's rather a constructed and conditional act, so the increasing or decreasing number of cases is dependent on environmental factors. mostly the cultural and political structure of that society.
Hi friends. Okay, sorry. I have to interject very quickly with an important note that I hope will clear up any confusion, mostly because I've sort of referenced to this point, but I haven't outwardly come out and said this, so I need to say this. So especially when we're looking at rape and sexual assault from a variety of angles, right? We're asking ourselves all these questions. What are the origins of rape and sexual assault? Why is it so persistent? Things like this. I want to be clear that when I'm talking about rape and sexual assault, and even when we're looking at this study, we are not talking about rape, well, I'll speak for myself. I'm not talking about rape as an individual act, but more so as the global widespread problem that it is. So what do I mean by that? So for example, when we're looking again with Dr. Peggy Reeves-Sentay's study, and she's talking about how rape is not a natural or inevitable outcome, we're talking about rape with a uppercase R, not necessarily rape as an individual act.
And this is very profound research, by the way. And let me tell you why. Prior to Sentay's work, the most popular narrative around rape was that it is natural. It's something that can't be helped, and the mostly men who commit these crimes can't be stopped. But Sentay's study actually proved the exact opposite theory. I mean, for one, this study proves the existence of rape culture. It doesn't outwardly mention rape culture in the study because it wasn't a popularized word at the time. But what she's describing here in these rape-prone societies is rape culture. She's describing these cultural and socio-political factors that can tolerate, encourage, or even suppress rape and sexual assault, which is literally rape culture. And two, she reveals that rape and rape culture itself isn't inevitable because there are societies out there that have recorded more cases of rape and sexual assault and others that have recorded less. And this incongruity of numbers of rape cases can lead us to believe that rape culture is unnatural as well and can too be encouraged or suppressed by society. Now, I do have to mention, as influential as Sentay's work has been, there are some valid criticisms that should be taken into account when we're addressing her work, like how her analysis of these mostly non-Western cultures is coming from a very Western standpoint and approach, which, let's be honest, can reflect some major biases when we're analyzing these societies. Or also how deeming some of these societies as rape-free can simply erase the significance of other forms of sexual violence like verbal harassment or coercion that may be present in these societies. But yeah, more importantly, Sentay's research also drops some really interesting Easter eggs about rape culture's origins. She essentially lists out a number of characteristics that are present in the rape-prone societies that not only encourage rape, but also rape culture. It's like she's writing down a recipe of all the essential ingredients that, when combined, will make a really big cake called rape culture. So, what are those ingredients, you ask? To name a few, the study cites interpersonal violence, especially against women, sexual separation, where men are posed as a social group against women perceived as property, and lastly, male dominance. So what do all of these components have to do with rape culture's origins? Well, let's put it like this. Let's say that all of the ingredients needed to make the rape culture cake can only be bought at one store, one source, one place to get all of our ingredients at. So that would mean the rape culture cake can only be made when all of the ingredients like interpersonal violence, inequality of the genders, the objectification of women are purchased from one specific store. So, what store is it then? Where can we purchase these ingredients? Okay, before I tell you what store this is, I have to admit, you might not like this answer, depending who you are, what podcast you listen to, what beliefs you hold, etc. And that's okay. I am not necessarily trying to get you to like this answer, but I just hope you can keep an open enough mind to understand why I'm providing it. Okay, so the real culprit behind rape culture, the place where you can purchase all of your ingredients for your rape culture cake at, is boiled down to one word, and that is the patriarchy. I guess technically that's two words. Simply defined, patriarchy literally translates to rule of the father, or in other terms, male rule, which doesn't necessarily mean men rule, which is, yes, also true, but men holding power and ruling everything. and stuff, which is quite obviously the world we live in. And I don't even know how anyone could contest this fact. And I should also add that male rule doesn't necessarily mean that all men individually hold tangible power, because I think this can be a confusing definition for some people, especially when they're drawing from their own experiences. Like, you might be a guy right now watching this video thinking, well, I don't rule anything. I don't own anything. I don't even own socks without holes in them. Or you might just know a lot of strong women in your life, and, they've always called the shots. So you're like, hey, you would doubt the patriarchy too if you saw how my mom runs our Thanksgiving dinners like it's the Navy. But regardless of your individual impressions or experiences, I implore you to still make note of the facts of the matter, which is most positions of political power that determine the course of our society around the globe are held by men. Even if it's not you or your dad specifically. But the problem with this concept is not that people don't believe it exists. I mean, it's quite obvious that we live in a world run by men. The problem lies in the debate of whether or not patriarchy is good or a necessary thing for our societies. And this video doesn't necessarily seek to explore the arguments behind this debate, but rather I want to explore the connection that patriarchy has to rape culture specifically, and therefore why rape and sexual assault exist as a result of this patriarchal order. So, what does patriarchy have to do with rape culture? Well, I'll reveal the answer to you right after I explain one last crucial thing to know about patriarchy. And this is something not widely known, but accounts for much of the problems that arise from a patriarchal structure. You see, patriarchy isn't simply the descriptive term for the political structure that we happen to live under, this male ruling structure. But patriarchy more dangerously encapsulates a deeply rooted ideology, which centers male domination and in turn, the subordination of women. So in other words, the issue isn't as much about the fact that 44 old and decrepit white men and one black one have served as the US head of state and government since the inception of the presidency itself, but more so about the fact that our society has had to debate questions like, so are women equal to men or what? I say no. But obviously this patriarchal order of having exclusively male leaders shapes this male dominance ideology and leads to so many unimaginable harms as well. So as a whole, patriarchy describes a harmful political and ideological structure that is upheld by many institutions and established in our global surroundings, which essentially complicates matters for everyone to live under, but especially women. So patriarchy is like weird, right? I mean, humans could have created any system we wanted to. Like literally, we could have had a universal-based income, or everyone gets free candy on Tuesdays for fun, yeah? But we landed on this nonsense with the whole men on top and all that. Like, I don't think so. Can I speak to the manager of Earth, please? That was really dumb. Okay. And because of this patriarchal setup, a lot of problems arise as a result. So, for example, some of patriarchy's best hits include an organic and rising inequalities between the genders, including lack of voting rights, work opportunities, rigid gender roles, unattainable beauty standards, and raging sexual violence of all forms. And of course, let's not forget the male suicide epidemic, most likely wrought upon by the impossible gendered standards for men to maintain a generous distance between themselves and their basic innate emotions. Obviously, there are so many other problems that arise from a system where half the population is seen as inferior to the other half. But specifically addressing rape culture, patriarchy is a system that has also glorified many foundational rape culture myths. Born out of the patriarchy is the normalization of violence, the inferiority of women, as well as women being perceived as sexual objects of desire for men. Dr. Jan Jordan, a criminologist, lecturer, and author, addresses this non-conspiratorial relationship between rape culture and patriarchy in her book, Tackling Rape Culture, Ending Patriarchy. And she cites two main mechanisms that healthily exist and thrive in our rape culture environments due to patriarchy. The first one is called silencing, and she describes silencing as not just the literal suppression of one's voice, but also blatantly ignoring and devaluing the words that someone speaks against their oppression. So this looks like a whole bunch of things, but specifically in our rape culture infested society, this looks like victim blaming. Then there's also just simply downplaying rape and sexual assault cases. Another one is citing false accusations to construct a narrative that women lie, or victims in general, survivors in general, tend to lie. And this also looks like demonizing important movements and anti-rape resistant groups. And all of these silencing techniques are used at both an interpersonal and systemic level. And this simply creates a hostile environment for those, especially women, who have been affected by sexual violence. The way that we don't take this problem seriously enough, the way that we poke holes in people's experiences and claim that they're lying about rape and sexual assault, the way that we don't do anything about the rape problem before or after it occurs, often leads people feeling unheard in their experience, becoming re-traumatized all over again, and finally resorting to silence. Although it is a good thing that many survivors still manage to find their voice in the midst of this silencing campaign and speak out about their experiences. But patriarchy doesn't stop there. According to Dr. Jan Jordan, there is another aspect of patriarchy that creates space for rape culture to exist. Objectification is also another helpful patriarchal tool that thrives in rape culture societies. We don't have to look any further than, well, depending where you're from, your grandmother's, mother's, or even your own history to observe the way that women have been actively objectified under patriarchal rule. Since women often had to marry because their access to education and jobs were limited or even completely prohibited, they often had to be dependent on the men in their lives for survival. Survival, guys. This led to, according to Dr. Jan Jordan, the reason for women's objectification. Their social and economic dependency on men enabled male definitions of their use and value to dominate, with women prized primarily for their ornamental and procreative assets. In other words, patriarchy has stripped women the right to be perceived as human beings. So when we've painted a whole population of people in a specific way, it gets easier to justify the violence and sexual violence that happens to them. And this is how patriarchy ensures that rape culture gets a chance to exist. And not just exist, but thrive. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit because we're coming to a close here and I just spewed out a bunch of information. So I know that's not helpful for you. Let's try to summarize a little bit what we just learned. So number one, we live under a global patriarchal system. Number two, this patriarchal system that we have set up, so this male ruling structure and the ideology of male domination is prevalent. And number three, the existence of patriarchy provides an ideological basis for rape myths and rape culture to exist and essentially have a long, successful lifespan, particularly through these patriarchal mechanisms that we have seen, like silencing and objectification, and a whole host of other things, but those are the two main ones that we covered. So now that we know a little bit more about rape culture, let's add more to this definition, because we've been learning a little bit about it. Also, compared to the last video I posted, we learned about rape culture myths and a few other things there, and we've been essentially trying to broaden our definition of rape culture with each new video that I'm carefully trying to put together. So what have we learned so far? What is the definition of rape culture? Rape culture is an environment or society whose prevailing patriarchal culture, by means of media, film, literature, art, language, laws, dominating behaviors and beliefs, regularly perpetuates and disseminates certain notions or myths that either promote, normalize, or trivialize rape, sexual assault, Okay, I guess I'm still being bleeped out. Karen, can you stop that? Like, you're the one editing this. I guess we still have more to find out about rape culture, which is okay. That takes time. It's a process. But yeah, if you're interested in learning more about rape culture, please subscribe and comment down the questions you have below. Share some insight, antidotes, interesting information you want to share. I would love to read them and start to incorporate them in my future videos. So yeah, thank you so much already if you've finished to the end, and I hope you're doing well. I'll see you in the next video, and yeah, until then, bye!